number 12, I believe, right? Amendment number 2 to extend contract number 22-11 from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025 with CityNet for homeless outreach services in the amount of $376,999.66. Presentation by the soon-to-be retired Chief Matt Shepard. See, you didn't quite sign out yet, Chief.
I'm still the police chief.
Yes, you are.
And just for clarification, the DRE in the POA contract, that incentive is for drug recognition expert. We're not assigning somebody to the drug lab or anything like that. Okay, so tonight before you is the proposed contract extension for CityNet. CityNet provides our outreach and engagement to our unhoused population. We contracted with CityNet in March of 2022, and that was a 15-month first contract, and then we aligned it with the fiscal year, and then we extended the second contract to align with the fiscal year, and now we're before you tonight to propose extending for one more year. So, oh, how's that? There we go. So what does CityNet do for us? There are non-law enforcement street outreach. They provide our regular engagement and follow-up. They also are the pointy end of the spear for our housing navigation, and they have established relationships with our navigation shelters within Orange County. They provide the case management and the ability to align the connection of the unhoused persons with the Orange County healthcare agency. And that's what the ultimate goal is to get them connected to the healthcare agency and into permanent housing.
Hey, Chief, I'm going to interrupt just real quick. Can everybody turn their microphones off? There's a little bit of feedback, so if we have just the Chief's microphone on.
Is it because of me? It's probably my last time standing at the podium. Somebody set me up. The ability to transport directly to services, including the shelters, medical treatment, transportation hubs, and social services like the DMV or some type of government agency where they need some kind of identification. They take unhoused persons off of your police officers' shoulders, and they get them to the services that they need, and it puts the police officers back out in the street doing what they should be doing. So staff's asking for an approval of amendment number 2 to extend the contract with CityNet for our unhoused persons outreach and services in the amount of $377,000. There's some change there, but that's the round number. We also offset, we have offset in the past all of the expenses for CityNet through the California Housing and Community Development PLHA funds. This year we have available $124,000 that we've already accessed, and we're going to utilize that for funding for it. There's a remaining $253,029 that we are going to have to use from the general fund to help pay for the overall services. But staff anticipates another round of funding coming from PLHA, and we intend to seek those funds to help offset the costs for the services of CityNet. And before you is the CityNet Impact Report. This is from July 1st, 2023 to May 31st, 2024. This is essentially their report card. And you could start to see the persons that they've exited, that have had street exits on the left-hand side of your screen in the blue. There's 46 exits to the shelter, 3 exits to permanent housing, and then 128 clients referred to the community queue. Up at the very top, a little over 1,000 client interactions. So this is what I look at when I'm trying to evaluate what CityNet has done, and then in conjunction with that, I look at the street exits for the calendar year. So when they started with us in 2022, it wasn't a full year. So this isn't fiscal year data. This is an annual data. They did 40 street exits. In 2023, they did 33, and in 2024, just for the first quarter alone, they had 27. So we're already on track in 2024 to exceed the numbers that we put forth in 2022 and 2023. And that doesn't include the individuals that we've got into the shelters during the second quarter. You heard the city manager talk about, no, I think it was Mayor that talked a little bit about the Central Cities Navigation Center opening up, and we have 8 persons in there, and CityNet's directly responsible for getting those persons connected to those wraparound services. So I use that as a guide to evaluate how CityNet's working. This is a calls for service for the police department. This is on an annual basis, and you can see across the top in 2021, we had 1,682 calls for service, and in 2023, we had 1,700. So the number hasn't increased too much, but then in 2024, we're still kind of on track to keep those numbers the same. Now, I use the data in conjunction with what I'm seeing. There's a strong chance that people aren't calling. And because I've seen an increase on the streets, I've seen an increase around the park, and the data doesn't reflect that in the calls for service. So I think that some of this is going unreported. You can see the arrests that we're accompanying down on the bottom line with the calls for service. Those are arrests that come out of a call. Those are kind of consistent across. We're on track to keep at that rate in 2024. Again, this is just data. And then the big one that popped up, our point in time count changed this year. So the county does a point in time count for the unhoused population every 2 years. I believe there's a state law that requires it to be done. Please don't quote me on that, because I don't know what the state law is. But you see in 2017, when we had our first one, we were at 29. 2019, we had 28. And then in 2022, you notice it's 3 years. It's supposed to be every 2 years, but that was during a COVID period. We had 38, and then in 2024, we had the point in time count that came out in January. 2 nights, they go around the city, and they go to specific locations that we point them to, where we know our homeless populations are, and we go out and we count them. And we do an average between the 2 nights. It's all done with volunteers and staff from the contracted county agency, and we came up with 114 this year. So I think there's a couple things that are going on here. One, I saw the data collection geocode points for 2019 and 2022, and I didn't see geocoded locations in known locations where there should have been some homeless population. So I believe that it was underreported back in 2019 and 2022, and I think in 2024 they were fully staffed for, I believe we had 15 individuals, 15 volunteers that were out counting both nights. So I believe the data is fairly accurate. I think there's also something else that's going on here too. We have an area within the city that is controlled by another entity, and I think it's increasing in those areas, and the city of Fountain Valley doesn't have control over that. But the numbers come to the city of Fountain Valley. It doesn't matter that other organization is responsible for it. We still get the credit for those unhoused population persons.
Hey, Chief, just one quick thing on the count as well that I learned. I had conversations with the CEO of Cal Optima, and he let me know that he personally was part of the count team in Fountain Valley. Maybe with the CEO around, everybody was a bit more efficient in their accounting this year as well. That I'm not sure if that's, all of it, but it might be a part of it. I personally think that number is way up. That we have more unhoused in our community than we ever have before.
I don't disagree with you at all.
Okay.
I concur with that assessment. And that is the reason why we're here tonight, is we need to continue working towards providing services and outreach for our homeless population and driving that number to an acceptable level. Are we going to be able to solve homelessness? No, we're not. But can we facilitate getting persons to where they need to be and help them make better decisions and change their lifestyle from living on the street? Yes, we can help facilitate that. Can we force individuals to do that? No, we cannot. They have to want to accept the services. So with what we've done so far, we also engaged in a collaborative effort with our partnering cities, Garden Grove and Westminster. We just recently opened up the Central Cities Navigation Center. Here's a photo of our team that went over there to kick that off, and ever since we opened that on the 10th, we've got 8 persons into that facility, and there's more on the way. So it's vital that we keep the pathway open to facilitating persons getting into the wraparound services shelter. We're not just using our shelter. We still utilize the Yale facility over on Harbor and Warner, and if they have a nexus back to Huntington, we can get persons connected in there. Wherever we can get them, we get them there if they're willing and able to go. And like I said before, you want to use our outreach and engagement for that. You don't want to use police officers. It takes them away from what their primary responsibility is, and that's to crush crime and keep the public safe. And so when the time comes, we're going to have to update our Fountain Valley fact sheet. We put this together, I believe, Megan, last year or the year before? Yeah, so there's going to need to be a lot of information that gets updated on this because we have our CCNC. We've had some success getting persons connected, and all of our data is going to change. So that'll come forward so we can push that out to the public. I know Captain DeSantis, he's working on a community meeting with the mayor's direction, and he's going to use this information and have it available to the public. So we want it to be have updated information on it and relative to what we're discussing. And so, like I said before, this is a big number, 377,000. That's a big number to swallow, but we cannot do this without help. Is that enough for the city of Fountain Valley? I don't think so. I think we should be doing more. What we're seeing is telling us that we need to do more. What does that look like? We've just put together. We're going to have a committee for. It's going to be called our Homeless Task Force. We're going to get the community stakeholders involved with that. So if there is something else that we can do, we're going to develop it and drive it forward out of this working group. Is it time for the city of Fountain Valley to go on our own and bring in-house services? Maybe, but that's going to take some time to turn on and get it up to speed and running. But right now is not the time to turn away from what we have in place and throw our hands up in the air and hope that things get better. Because it's not. We need something to move forward with. So with me tonight, if you guys have some more questions for me, I can come up after. With me tonight is Valerie Carter, representative from CityNet. She can speak to what CityNet does, and if you guys have any questions for them, she's here to help answer those. So, Valerie?
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Good evening, City Council. I am just here to answer any questions that you all may have about the work that we do in your city. We are so happy to be here. We have been happy to be here from the start. And we're proud to be the agency that has started up an outreach program here in Fountain Valley. We don't get that opportunity all that often, but when it happened a few years ago now, we're just eager to come in and do what we can do in the city of Fountain Valley. And it is different than a lot of the other cities that CityNet has operated in. By volume, but also by geographic location. You're kind of sandwiched between a bunch of cities that have a much higher volume of homelessness in their city. And sometimes we see a trickle in, but also I think Fountain Valley does a really great job, especially in bringing services like CityNet's outreach services in to help the folks that are existing here, and then also help the folks that are just coming in that we haven't seen for a long time. So there's lots of different dynamics that we encounter. We encounter folks that have been homeless on your streets for over a couple of decades, and we are making headway with those folks. But it's really tough to help somebody shift their mind from survival on the streets for that many years to being okay with sleeping indoors, whether that be a shelter or a place of their own. And both of those options probably are available to these individuals, but it can be a difficult road to get somebody to really change the way that they've been operating in their brain for a long period of time. But we are happy to be here. We hope to continue to be here and continue the wonderful work that we've done, and we really appreciate your support, Chief Shepherd. But I'm open to any questions you might have.
Okay, so one of the things that we see that's pretty visible right now, I'm just going to pick on one individual, is the lady living behind the bush on Slater and Magnolia. I get asked about that more than any other person because, again, it's so visible.
Sure.
And she's been there for such a long time. Can you maybe explain to us why she's still there?
She, I think, very clearly has some severe mental illness diagnoses, and somebody in her position who isn't operating very often at all in reality. They're not able to see their circumstances as they are right now. It comes down to them being willing to accept the help that may be out there for them. And oftentimes, I mean, more often than not, and I would say the majority at this point, they are just completely closed off to communication to anybody, really. And
So specifically, have you reached out to try to help her? Not you personally.
not me personally, but my team, of
CityNet.
course. Yes.
And what has the interactions been? Have you offered assistance?
Yes, we absolutely have. They have not responded in a way that shows us that they understand what it is that we're offering. So that becomes a major challenge, because ultimately when they're not able to understand what it is we're able to offer, and they're not able to recognize us as people that want to help them, the door sort of gets shut, and we can continue to do it over time, but at some point we can't continue to engage that person multiple times in a short period of time hoping for a different outcome. We have to spread it out over time, and that person is just one.
Well, I don't want to hyper-focus on one, because
Sure.
there's 114 that I think that was the number, that's the issue.
Sure.
So one concern that I have, and I think our community has, is we went from, we've been investing a lot of money in CityNet, and we went from a count of 38 to 114, and it's much more visible now than it's ever been before. What is it that you're going to do differently now that you didn't do before that's going to help?
we are going to continue to do the work that we have been doing, and the uptick in numbers, just like Chief Shepherd mentioned before, there's a lot of different factors that play into that. In the previous pit count in 2022 and the one before that in 2019, y'all didn't have an outreach team that was familiar with the homeless population as we do now. And we know that the CRO officers, they were familiar with it. We know that lots of PD are familiar with the population, but we are able, CityNet is able to develop different kinds of relationships where people end up feeling more comfortable to come to us and ask for services or be more open to receiving services. So I think that also has some to do with the increase in numbers for this point in time count. And then also, like he said, we had adequate volunteers this year. And the previous pit count in 2022, volunteers were so low, so we were only able to capture a lower amount. So there's many different factors, but I'm glad that we now have the Central Cities Navigation Center. That is something that is going to be helpful for our team and for the population that's sleeping outside. And we are going to continue to foster relationships with the Yale Navigation Center, which has the highest capacity here in the county right now. So we continue to just work with them and have good success in getting our folks in. And sometimes they change the way that we can refer in, but we keep up to date with it and we do the best that we can.
Thank you. Other questions from council before we go to public comments? Councilmember Constantine?
Sure. Okay, so I have several, and I'm glad that you're here. So I'm speaking not only for myself, but many in the community. We have a lot of people on Facebook, and especially next door. They're watching now on Channel 3.
Right.
In calling over to the CityNet number, you can't get anybody. You can't. I've experienced it myself. There's voicemail constantly, and it's full. Doesn't matter what day it is. People are not getting return calls. These are real serious issues. No one's answering the phone. I need to know, please, if you can tell me what the CityNet hours are. Personally, I've seen a vehicle just like a handful of times, and I'm around the city a whole lot, everywhere, especially 10 p.m. to 4 in the morning. Either I drive or somebody drives me around. I like to see what's happening firsthand around the city, not just for the homeless, but other things. Something went awry in May, and that really we haven't yet recovered from, and that the chief touched on about Warner. And we know Miles Square Park is in the city of Fountain Valley. The city has jurisdiction just over the Brookhurst side. The Warner, Edinger, and Euclid sides are county, although you have the ability to help in there from what I've heard. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. But that's been a real challenge lately. Everything, I swear, I was the biggest cheerleader for CityNet up until last month. And I don't know what to say. We need homeless services. I'm not saying that we don't. At this point, I honestly can't support. I know we've talked about the lady staying behind the bush on Slater. To me, she's not living. She's staying there for about 2 years now. She has mental illness, and we can't force her. The community doesn't understand that either, and that's unfortunate. The cost is it's over $1,000 a day. There's 8 people at the Central Navigation Center. We still have 5 beds to place. How long has that been open, the Central Navigation Center? I know the grand opening, but the grand opening was not the actual opening of the facility.
It was close to it, yeah.
Okay, because I understood it wouldn't be, so,
next day.
okay. So, there's a concern there. We don't have everybody there. So I don't know what to say. I'm really, something went awry. Can you shed any light on what happened?
Well, I first want to clarify a few things that you mentioned, just so that everybody understands what CityNet has been contracted to do in the city. So we are a team of 2 outreach case managers, and we operate from 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., and that's the time frame that we agreed upon originally. So we are never out in the hours that you mentioned that you're driving around. So that might explain why you don't see us in those hours. But you also mentioned the phone number that you've called, and you say the voicemail box is full. So we have a message line that's available for Fountain Valley. So it's a message line. It's not a live dispatch line. So you're never going to get somebody live answering that phone. To be able to staff up somebody to essentially perform dispatch, that's a whole different ballgame, so to speak, and that's a different kind of programming. But we do have the message line, and community members and folks who are sleeping outside themselves. That's there for them. So they call and they leave a message, they give us as much information as possible, and then we return those phone calls or head out to those locations as soon as we see them. So that's how that operates. I think maybe there was a bit of misunderstanding about
So
somebody live being available.
Okay, I understand that, but when you call the number, you can't leave a message, the message is full. And so my other part was nobody answered, but that was never going to happen anyway. But the most important part is you can't even leave a message.
That's something I will absolutely look into, because I don't think that the system has a full mailbox. It's not like a cell phone. It's an actual, I don't know if it's called a landline, but it's a phone line that's essentially hardwired, I want to say. I don't know the technical terms, but it's not a cell phone where the voicemail box can fill up like
Can
that.
I ask somebody, I know this is going to sound crazy, but can I ask somebody to please use a cell phone and dial the number right now and let's see what we get? I got to do it. I'm sorry.
Okay. Would you like, who wants to do that?
You get cut off,
Would you like me to do
honestly.
You have a cell phone?
I know, but I forgot the number.
I don't have it memorized. I will grab it right now.
I know, I don't either.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's on the back page. I didn't put it on here.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want me to call or do you want
Yeah,
to call?
sure, go ahead.
Okay. I can't see it as I'm dialing, but let me pull it up again.
761.
Thank you for taking the time to call CityNet. We currently are assisting those experiencing homelessness in the cities of Tustin, Newport Beach, Costa Mesa, and Fountain Valley. If you are currently experiencing homelessness in one of these cities, please leave your name and phone number. If you do not currently have a contact number, please advise our team of the most frequented area where you are located. If you would like to share information about a homeless neighbor in your city, please leave your name and phone number and a brief description of the location of the individual. Thank you again for calling CityNet. Gracias por tomarse el tiempo de llamar a CityNet. Actualmente estamos ayudando a las personas sin lugar en las ciudades de Tustin, Newport Beach, Costa Mesa y Fountain Valley. Si actualmente se encuentra sin lugar en una de estas ciudades, deje su nombre y número de teléfono. Si actualmente no tiene un número de contacto, informe a nuestro equipo del área más frecuentada donde se encuentra. Si desea compartir información sobre un vecino sin lugar en su ciudad, deje su nombre y número de teléfono y una breve descripción de la ubicación de la persona. Gracias nuevamente por llamar a CityNet.
Testing, testing.
Well, for a lot of people, that message wasn't that long to include myself, and they were getting cut off, me included. That's why I asked you to call, and well, I'm glad it's working.
Okay. I can share that phone number for anybody who wants it. It's 714-202.
Oh, no, that's not the, what are the last four digits?
7741.
No, it was like 61, it's the phone number that's always on the flyer.
Maybe we can check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I neglected to put page 2, the backside.
I have it in my phone, I'll have to look at my phone, though, I mean, I hate to do
All
that.
right,
when-
well, let's,
Yeah,
I
go
think
for it.
we've spent enough time on this at this point. Why don't we, at this point, if it's okay, unless somebody has an immediate question?
Yeah, I have some more
Councilman
questions.
Harper?
Okay, first, on the phone call, I'm glad we did that, because, I mean, why do you have it ring 6 times if it's going to be a message anyway? Just have it go straight to the message.
I don't know if that's programmable, but I'll look into that.
Yeah, and the same thing, if you want to skip the message part, maybe you can have a button where you can just leave a message, if we've heard that. I guess my question is just in general, how many contacts do you make, say, in a week, within the city? You're working 7 to 3:30, how many?
That is a great question. I believe there's a weekly report that goes out to Lieutenant Parsons and Captain Luce, and I believe the average on there would be about I would say 40-ish, 30, anywhere from 20 to 40. It depends on the week, and it depends on what the to-dos are for that week.
So when you,
So these are monthly. Yeah, this just captures monthly.
okay, what's the monthly contact, number of contacts on that report?
A number of individuals for, I'm assuming this is just for the month of January,
Yes.
about 103.
103, okay, so that's 20, so about 5 per day? Okay, so you contact somebody, and how long does a conversation last typically? Is it?
Sure,
varies,
that
or?
of course varies from person to person, but if we are engaging somebody and helping them get a California ID or driver's license, then we are picking them up, transporting them in our own vehicles, and we're spending some time with them at the DMV. That, of course, we all know takes some time, but that is one of the things that we do often with our folks, because we know that without identification, they are not going to be able to access much at all. So that's a service that we provide that takes some time. We may take them to shelter. Shelter intakes take anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, just depending on the situation and depending on the shelter. We are canvassing the city. We are kind of driving in and around buildings. Just depends on the conversation.
Okay. Chief, I appreciate the presentation, and I realize solving the homeless problem is going to require a lot of different tools in the toolbox, so to speak, and I think having a source that addresses it and frees up the sworn officers to spend time on law enforcement, public safety, I think is a valuable thing. So even I think you might have said, I don't think it's the time to turn away from this at this point. I would be supportive of extending the contract another year, and at the same time investigating, several different approaches to.
Before we get into opinions and such, we have a couple of public speakers. Let's give that.
Mayor, if I may,
Sure.
just answer 2 quick questions. Councilmember Constantine asked why the other beds weren't full at the CCNC. We were only allotted 5 bed spaces for the kickoff, for a soft start at the CCNC, and we went over that by 3. And then also on the county side of Miles Square Park, that unhoused population, that's one of the things that I want to talk about. And I know we're going to meet with Supervisor Doe here in the next couple weeks to determine if there's something that they could help us out with. And that is one of the strategies and objectives that's going to come forward in our group, our working group, to see if there's something that the city of Fountain Valley can do inside of the jurisdiction that's not ours, because those persons are in the city of Fountain Valley. And so that's something that we're going to work on.
Yeah, agreed. Okay.
If I may.
I'd actually like to give the people who have been waiting to speak a chance to speak. So if we could call the 2 speakers, please.
Rudy Hubner.
Thank you, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I'm Rudy Hubner, a longtime resident here in Fountain Valley. I've spoken publicly about this program before and why I think it's so beneficial for the city. I am a strong proponent of a compassionate approach to this homeless problem. I believe Chief Shepard even said himself that this is not a problem that we can arrest our way out of. And to me, logically, to have social workers and folks that have the background and the education to be able to handle these incredibly complex cases, that's really the best path forward. And it's my understanding that sometimes it takes multiple encounters, 10, 12, 20 encounters with an individual before they finally agree to accept services. And so having a partner like CityNet who can build that relationship, establish that rapport, and get an individual off the street into whatever supportive housing, shelter, whatever services they need, I think that that's incredibly beneficial. And it's also been stated several times tonight, by partnering with CityNet, that leaves our police officers to focus on police work, to focus on fighting crime. And I think that if we want to maintain our commitment to public safety, we need partners like CityNet who can handle these very complex cases and free up our police officers to do their police work. So I think we need to continue moving forward with this program. It's only been a couple years, and I think if we go one more year, especially with the Central City Navigation Center being open, I think we're really going to see some improvement in the data. One final comment about the data. I did go on the city's website and I could see the most recent set of data, which is very helpful. I do appreciate that, but I would also like to see an archive of the past reports that have come out, because then that will really paint a picture historically since we started engaging with CityNet to see just how those numbers and those data points are either going up and down, so that we can really have a true picture of how many people that, you know, we're getting off of our streets into these different supportive services. And so I'm really grateful that we have that degree of transparency. I would like to see some more historical data, because I think that would really give a better informed picture of just how this partnership is working for the city. And I really think that this is a program that we should continue pursuing. Thank you.
Thank you, Rudy.
Katie Wright.
Hello, Katie.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of points, and I don't want to be that person that's asking the ugly question. But I know there's a lot of people on Facebook and other social media, and I watch these things. I watch our former mayor, Constantine. I watch our current mayor doing a lot of social interaction in social media. I do. There's like 5 or 6 major channels, Facebook groups, that are specific to Fountain Valley community and forum, and every permutation of those words in the names of these groups. And a lot of people call in about, for instance, the one individual, Slater Magnolia, and that this person is actually a threat to health and safety. And the perception is, and this is a problem that's everywhere. Everybody knows it's everywhere. In Sacramento County, I had the same problem. I had people going along behind my house where there was an easement behind a park, congregating in the park, and they used the back easement behind my house as a latrine. You can tell I was happy about that. Nothing I could really do about it, nothing they could do about it. It was ugly. So we have a situation where this person, naming no names, a person, is argumentative, angry, screaming, doing bodily functions and, you know, in a bottle and pouring it in the street, or kids trying to walk to and from school getting accosted or whatever if they get too close, and everybody knows, okay, everybody walk across the street and go and avoid this person. With the advent of our own designated beds in the Navigation Center, a lot of people on social media were saying, well, at least now they'll be able to do something about it because of the Boise ruling that came down with the Supreme Court. The police could not do anything anywhere about it unless they had a bed to offer. So I'm going to share the perception, and it's unpleasant and it's uncomfortable, and I myself am totally in agreement with the approach of being benevolent and compassionate. And our cops shouldn't be tied up with all this. They have a lot of important things to do. But I would venture to say, when you have a 1% problem anywhere, and it's this one person that's this particular problem, and theoretically, people are following what's going on and understanding that, well, now that we have designated beds, maybe they can force this person to either take that bed or they can incarcerate this person, which I know is probably a useless answer. But that's what a lot of people are thinking and expecting. And I will say, A lot of people are fielding these questions. The hosts of all of these Facebook channels are fielding these questions saying, oh no, but we watched the chief, we watched the CityNet, they're doing a great job, blah, blah, blah. How come we have to tell the people that? How come CityNet isn't representing that to people on social media? That's my thought. I think you guys are doing great. I'm not going to discount the good work done, but I think that there should be more social media answering of questions presence. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
I have no further requests to speak.
So I have something.
Councilmember Constantine, please.
Okay, so the phone number that we've been given to dial, that I looked up on the flyers that we get, where it says resources on the web, it shows 714-451-6198. That's the number, not the other number or any other number, for clarification. Shoot, I have some other things here. We're not arresting our way out of homelessness. I do have compassion. I just feel that this is not working. Fountain Valley Police, they don't need to be doing anything with the homeless, unhoused, whatever we're going to call them. They have their own police work that needs to be done. I'm just not happy, and I speak, like I said, not only for myself, but it's not a selfish thing. I'm speaking for a lot of people that are dialing 714-451-6198. And you get the message in English, in Spanish too, but not as long as we heard, and you get cut off. I'm not kidding you. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just curious, Councilmember Constantine, so I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. So you're not as supportive of CityNet, and you don't want the police to have to be able to do it. So what is the suggestion? I'm not sure what you're suggesting.
Well, we're here about a contract extension, to either approve it, an extension for a year. That's a really long time, or not. I just can't be in support. I mean, I gave so many points here.
So if we
and-
don't have CityNet do it, you want the police officers? Someone has to do it.
No, I totally agree. We have to have assistance. No, I don't want the police to do it. I really don't.
So who should do it if we don't?
Well, I think CityNet needs to pick up the pace. I mean, I don't understand.
So you want CityNet
We all
to
live-
do a better job?
But I don't understand. We all live here. Why am I the one that's the most vocal? I don't.
But you're not offering a suggestion.
My suggestion is, if CityNet is going to continue, to me, the quality is not acceptable. I don't beat around the bush, you guys. So, and I'm not
Okay.
trying to be mean, but we all live in this city.
Okay,
Why
so-
am I the one that's, is everything wonderful? Why?
You're not the only one who's concerned. I've called for a homeless outreach to our residents so that we could do a town hall, get everybody to give input. I've also have a meeting, as you mentioned, with Supervisor Doe next week, and I'm meeting with him and the mayor of Westminster, and the three of us are going to sit down and figure out what funding we could get from the county to supplement what we're doing for homeless, or specifically around the park. And that will allow us to use funding, potentially other funding in other areas of the city. But there's no commitment at this point. And I think we just can't go cold turkey. What I would like, and I'm going to ask CityNet this question. I'm sorry if you could step back up again. Remind me your name again. I apologize. Valerie. So, Valerie, I think the chief brings up a good point. We can't just go cold turkey, and I think Councilmember Constantine brings up a good point. Renewing for another year may not be the right solution. A 7:30 to 3:30 may most likely not be the right solution. And I agree a lot with what Councilmember Constantine is saying in terms of that what is going on right now is not working the way we need it to. So what I would like to see, if possible, is can we go month to month from where we are today so that we can continue the program and allow us to have do more due diligence, because Councilmember Constantine's right. In May, there was a huge difference. There was like almost a light switch went on, and all of a sudden we had a much bigger problem than we've had in the past. So what I would like to do is I'd like a little bit of time to meet with Supervisor Doe and Mayor Chi Charlie Wynn from Westminster Let us figure out what else we could do. And most likely, it's going to be supplement what you're doing or increase funding so that you're not just 7:30 to 3:30 or whatever it is. And I also want to hear from the residents. I mean, that's to me is key. What is it they would like to see? Arresting somebody for being unhoused is not legal. It's not illegal to be unhoused. It's illegal to do certain things when you're unhoused, but it's not illegal to be unhoused. So I think a fair compromise might be, let us go month to month, say for another 90 days. Give us a chance to figure out, maybe we come back to you and say, you know what, we need you on weekends, we need you on nights, and see if you're able to do that. I reached out again to Cal Optima this last week, but they have a mobile medical van that goes out. We can't do anything, I found out, until January of next year. But that might be fit into the equation as well. So I guess in a very long-winded, hopefully explains to you way, can we do a month-to-month for a period of time so we can get our stuff together?
I hear what you're saying, and that idea did come up a bit earlier today, and as it stands right now, CityNet would not be able to continue in a month-to-month contract. It has much to do with being able to provide job security to our case managers, and all of the contracts that we have right now, they're at least a year, so that we have an extended amount of time to be able to, one, make an impact, but also be able to have dedicated case managers in those positions. Going month to month is not something that I think that we're able to do, but
Or how about 90 days?
that could be an option. I am not the person to make that decision. I'm a boots on the
So
ground
this is what I would
supervisor,
like
so
to
I
do.
can take it back.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to make this recommendation to council. Hopefully you'll be supportive of this. I think this is the most important issue facing the city of Fountain Valley today. We cannot take it more seriously. And I think everybody is right. This isn't working what we're doing today. So what I would like to do is I would like to postpone this decision, this vote, have a special meeting maybe in 2 weeks, and give us a chance to meet with the county, give us a chance to see what some other options are, and give you a chance to say, yes, Fountain Valley, we want to work with you. We'll do it for 90 days. We'll do a contract for 90. And I know you're looking for a cost of living. If there's a percentage increase, as long as it's reasonable, I think that would be okay. And give us a chance to really come up with a cohesive plan that brings in all of the stakeholders. So it brings in the county because we have the issue on their land. It brings in, potentially the city of Westminster, who's, we're bordering with, or Santa Ana, or what's going on over there. So if we have to hold a special city council meeting in 2 weeks to vote on this one matter, I think we'd all be willing to give our time to do that. And that's my suggestion at this point.
I want to say something, if
Please.
I may. Hearing the hours and the days, I got to say, it's a huge shock to my system. I have my notes in there from when you guys came on board. We were told there would be evenings, weekends. What happened?
So those are
I'm
all,
not making it up.
yeah, those are all things that we are open to, but that's not
No.
what we set out to do in the
That
beginning.
wasn't in our
Yeah.
contract.
Correct.
Well,
That
we
w-
were told that.
No, if you go back, we were not told that. We were told Monday through Friday, 7 to 3:30.
If I may, CityNet operates for those hours specifically because most of the other service organizations, they're open during the daytime. Like Central City's Navigation Center, they're only intaking during regular business hours. Yale facility is the same way. The Social Security
B&B's
office.
only open those hours. Yeah, I get it.
Right, but at the same time, if CityNet is out, the people that are home, believe me, I see them, and you guys see them too. I'm not the only one driving around. These same people are not in their spots, between business hours. They come later on. You won't find them
Okay.
during the day.
So that's.
Mayor Grandis, if I may, real quick.
Yes.
So you're not going to see a reduction in the services that the city of Fountain Valley provides because of our point in time count, because of what we're physically seeing out there. If anything, we're going to ramp up services. We're going to be providing more. The public is screaming for it. Our point in time numbers says that we should be doing more. I'll just leave you with that. The CityNet, I believe, is still going to be there.
I agree, too. I think we are going to continue to use CityNet in some form for the next year. I think we're not happy with what's going on. It may not be CityNet's fault. I think there's a lot of frustration amongst our residents and amongst our council. We need to do more, and we need to figure that out. So,
if there's some administrative concerns that council has, like the phone tree, the phone number, the messaging, we can work with that in-house. It's up to us to hold CityNet accountable for what they say they're going to do, and we will do that.
all right, Councilman Harper.
Yeah, I'm okay with extending for a year, notwithstanding the fact that you're meeting next week with the supervisor and Mayor of Westminster. I think you guys will have a great discussion and come up with a lot of ideas. But I don't think extending. I think extending a year is the right thing to do at this time, because it's whatever we decide, it's going to take a long time to implement, and in the meantime, I think it's prudent to have them continue to do what they do, but work out the administrative issues. I mean, clearly there's a problem with an issue with the phones, and to the extent the hours need to be, we need extra coverage. That's something maybe we can consider. But as you said, the services are open. We want to make sure we can connect them.
We've asked CityNet in the past to come out and do a special op with us.
Yeah.
And they've flexed their hours. They've worked with us.
Yeah. So I'd support
Okay,
the
thank
way-
you. Councilmember Canine?
Yeah, I want to take a little bit of a different approach. Valerie and your colleague, would you mind just coming up and introducing yourself?
Of course. Good evening, everyone. My name is Andres Hernandez. I actually started the contract here in Fountain Valley way back when. And being boots on the ground, now I'm a field supervisor in Los Angeles County, I can say that there are a lot of intersectional factors that are applying to the city of Fountain Valley. Like mentioned before, there's a lot of cities that have really substantially higher problems, and when it comes to CityNet's into just Orange County and just everywhere is homeless problem. So that is one factor. The other factor is that prior to what the speaker, I believe, Rudy? Yes. Point in time counts are based off of volunteers. And after COVID, the volunteers weren't really there. So this past one that I did volunteer in, I was in La Habra. There was a substantial amount of people searching through places that normally wouldn't be visited. So I think archival documents is kind of do like a side-by-side would be helpful. But not only that, being on the ground in Fountain Valley, I can say that this town is really compassionate. I've myself spoken with a lot of residents that know some of the unhoused population, either personally or, like as y'all said, just driving by. And unfortunately, we can't force a lot of people to go to services. Case in point, the individual off of Slater. But it doesn't mean that we give up. You know, there's many times where there's clients who lose IDs, and I can tell you now we've probably gotten it like 20 times. But it's our persistence that eventually leads them to trust us, to try new things, and eventually, be housed as well. And I have seen personally a lot of the folks coming through here are coming down from Santa Ana or coming up from Huntington Beach. So it's not like a Fountain Valley problem.
Thank you, Andres. So what I wanted to present, Valerie and Andres, you guys do probably maybe one of the most difficult jobs I've ever witnessed. And so I want to thank you, because I don't want you to walk out of here feeling like, what am I doing, right? So I appreciate it. I work in Anaheim. I drive through our city Westminster, Garden Grove every day, a couple times a day. I take all different routes, and I've been watching this issue for years. You know, so that was my first point. Thank you for the hard work that you do. I've spent extensive time with the chief talking about this issue. I support your recommendation on this. I agree with Councilman Harper. I don't want to take our foot off the pedal. I think we've done a lot of good work. This is not the time to sort of reduce our forces and also your ability to do the work you need to do. So I just want to express my appreciation to our police department, your team, and I know that was the will of prior councils and most of this council, and so that's. I hope you leave with that feeling tonight of appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Knie. Vice Mayor Bowie?
Thank you, Mayor. What I've heard a lot tonight on both sides, right, our council members and yourself, but there's one thing I have not heard is the city, particularly our resident or taxpayers, are putting a lot of money for our new central city navigation center. And why do we have to do that? So we have the tools because we were prevented by Judge Carter. If we don't have a navigation center, it's going to make the job difficult for our law enforcement to enforce their job because we don't have one. But there was a question asked to particularly Valerie earlier is, what are you going to do any different this time, given the navigations? And what I've heard you say, oh, I'm just going to do the same thing. Well, no. You didn't have a navigation center before. Now you do. So I kind of want to see a different approach how you will anticipate, moving forward, because our city is going to spend $100,000 every year to maintain that facility. That's part of our costs of our share of our city. So we have the tools, and I'm not saying that not being compassionate, but we have something we need to move. You mentioned that you issues 20 ID, but they keep losing it. Well, because we already know, you say it yourself, they have a mental issues. But to us, in our physical world, we see them as a mental issue. But in their perception, maybe they don't see themselves mental, right? Because they have a different perception of life, different things of view in life. I'm fine. I don't need any help. So I just want to see that you have to find a different way to navigate, and now we have something to work with, and I'm hoping that you'll find a different avenue and think outside the box. In other words,
Sure.
If one thing doesn't work, let's find something else.
Absolutely. That is always how we operate. And just to clarify, when I said that we would continue to do a lot of the same work that we have done since being in this city, the Central Cities Navigation Center, that is now another avenue that we're going to do the same thing in helping to funnel folks to and help build the bridge between the streets and that navigation center. So it is a lot of the same work, but we're so thankful for the new building and the new opportunities that will be available for our residents.
Yeah, I agree with our chief that I don't think that take off the foot off the pedal. It's not going to solve the problem. We'll still have issues. It needs to be addressed. And law enforcement, we understand that the homeless issue, it's bothering our residents, and I think that's true throughout anywhere in any city. However, at this point, probably it's not the right time. We have put so much effort in this. Hopefully, having this navigation center, there will be improvement next round on the report.
Okay, so it sounds like you're in favor of
Yes.
continuing. Okay.
I have one more thing.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question, Councilmember Constantine.
Sure.
If we don't do CityNet on July 1st, and we're no longer with CityNet, what's the plan?
This is really unfair, and I have to say this. I'm not seeing a sense of accountability, and we hear you, and we're going to fix it. Not even the right phone number was dialed. I got to play hardball right now. I'm not satisfied. We're not satisfied. It's over $1,000 a day, and I'm not going to be pushed into a corner that says CityNet or nothing.
I'm not saying that.
It's not.
I'm not saying CityNet or nothing. I'm saying CityNet or what do you suggest?
the performance is not up to par. I'm one vote. I don't know what to say.
Okay. All right, at this point, I'm going to make the motion that we move forward to approve the contract.
So is there, I'm sorry, Mayor, if I may interrupt. I understand the point of Councilmember Constantine. Is there anywhere in the provisions of the contracts, if we're not satisfied with the servers, given time, we can cancel the contract? Or is it commitment to a full 1 year, whether you were satisfied or not?
This is our standard consulting contract.
You're not on mic.
Thank you. This is our standard consulting contract that includes termination for convenience clauses.
Okay, all right. Hopefully that should help you. So you've heard a lot today, right, Valerie? I'm hoping that in the next 3 months you show big improvement. In terms of Council Member Harper mentioned earlier on the admin side, the message was great, but I have to admit that it was quite long. If someone wants to leave a message, like you say, there's no live, you have to leave a message. It's quite long. I would recommend.
I think
But
we
that's
could
not the
hold
number,
it,
though.
hold it,
Yeah.
hold it. We
Wait
could
a
fi-
minute.
I'm sorry. We could fix the details.
Yeah, yeah.
We agreed. There's been a motion. Is there a second to the motion?
But
to
that's
approve?
not the phone number
Excuse
that
me.
we
I will
Is there-
second, Mayor. I
Okay,
will
we have a motion and a second. I'm calling for the vote.
Item number 12 passes 4-1.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to take a 3-minute recess because I need a cookie. My blood sugar's too low, and I'll be right back.